Now we will understand what exactly the neural network is. So, what is neural network? Neural networks, also known as a artificial neural network, are a subset of a machine learning. Their name and structure are inspired by the human brain, mimicking the way that biological neurons signal to the one another. Main objective of a neural network is to mimic the how our brain works, the way our brain transforms signals from one neurons to other. Same things neural networks try to mimic. Neural networks are composed of interconnected nodes or neurons that are organized in a layers. As we are able to see over here that we have a three layers: input layer, hidden layer and output layer. So input layer means whatever the columns you are having, that input will be fed as a input, and the hidden layers will going to process that input data. Each neurons gets some input, does some calculation, and then pass the result to the next neuron. The output layer will going to predict, like identifying a cat in a picture or predicting a word in a sentence. So how does the learning happens? Just like we learn from the experience, neural networks learn from the data. They look at lots of example and figure out the patterns between it. For example, if you show a neural network many pictures of cat, it will learn to recognize what cat looks like. It will going to do it by calculating the loss function between predicted and actual data. So activation functions are used in a artificial neural network to introduce non-linearity into the output of a neuron. Without activation function, a neural network would simply be a linear regression model, which is limited in its ability to represent a complex pattern in the data. So the main objective of the activation function is to introduce the non-linearity in the output of a neuron. So how learning and training happens, for that two main term is there: backpropagation and gradient descent. So backpropagation is an algorithm that helps neural networks to learn by adjusting its weights and biases. It calculates how much the network prediction different from the actual result and then updates the network to reduce this error. So as we can see that in initial anything it will going to predict, and it will compare itself from the actual output, and based on that it will calculate the loss function. And each neurons in hidden layers which have a weight and biases, that weights and biases we will going to adjust according to loss we have calculated from the predicted and actual data. So how does gradient descent work? Main objective of the gradient descent is to find out the global minima. Global minima means where the loss is equal to 0 or nearest to 0. For example, if any weights you have taken, based on that it will going to check the loss by calculating loss function from the predicted and actual data. This will going to find out the best weights where the loss is equal to 0 or nearest to 0. So these things will allows us to adjust our weights in the neurons which is present in our hidden layer.